Shalom everyone. Shabbat, Parashiyot, Acharayimot, and Kedoshim. In this week's parasha, we see this week's Parashiyot, we see something very unique, very special. See, also in Parashat Acharayimot and also in Parashat Kedoshim, the Torah speaks about the different Isurei Arayot. Goes over nearly the same list. There are a few differences between the two, but a very similar list of Isurim, of things, forbiddings in the whole area of Isurei Arayot, of relationships you're not allowed to have with relatives, with different people who've got some kind of relationship too. The first time in Parashat Acharayimot, there's just a list of things you're not allowed to do. It says, the word in it uses in Vayikra, Perek Yudchet, it basically says, gives you whatever the Isur is, ערוות אביך וערוות אמך, לא תגלה. Okay? לא תגלה, אמך היא לא תגלה ערוותה, או ערוות אשתך לא תגלה ערוות אחיך. It just tells you what you're not allowed to do and giving you a reason of it. In Perek Kaf, when it goes back to speaking about the same Isurim again, that will say, ואיש אשר ישכב את אשת אביו וערוות אביו גילה, מות יומתו שניהם דמיהם בם. That gives you the punishments. Could have done them all in one. We know that in the Torah, the different ways of learning things. What exactly is the punishment, how the punishment should be, what are the Isurim. Often it can be done in one thing. Definitely, if you tell us there's a punishment for something, we can understand on our own that we're not meant to be doing that same thing. Okay, we don't need the Torah to tell us also you're not allowed to do it. And then again, 2 chapters later, tell us what is the punishment for doing the same thing. It looks very awkward, this whole way of acting looks a very awkward way of presenting this topic to us. This has got to do with the fact that the Torah isn't only about telling us what the laws are. Can do this, can't do this, or what is the punishment for doing one thing, what is the punishment for doing something else. The Torah is here to tell us about values. So when the Torah tells us what you shouldn't do and what the reason for not doing that is, it's telling us there's a value, even if there was no penalty, there's no punishment. You shouldn't be doing that because that's wrong. Then there is a question, what happens if someone actually went and did that thing? Okay, then there's also punishment. So this could be a very technical separation between the two things. But this has got to do, we need to realize, we need to learn from here that the way we speak, the way we say things makes a big difference on the people listening to us. If you only come and present the punishments, you say, if you do this, this is what's going to happen to you. First of all, you create a very transactional mindset. People understand the whole life is about action and consequence. Action and consequence. What's taken out of a life like that? The whole concept of values. There are no values. It's all about what can I gain, what can't I gain. And maybe if there's a punishment that I can get out of, then there's no problem of doing what I want to do. Okay? We know very often people know that if you speed while you're driving, you could get a fine. But if there's no police away, if Waze isn't telling us there's a police somewhere up ahead, everyone's speeding. The minute Waze says, police ahead, everyone slows down. Why? Because people don't understand the problem, although there's a clear logic why you shouldn't speed and stuff like that. But people are very transactional and they say, okay, I won't speed if I'm afraid of being caught of it, and I will speed if I don't see the punishment coming. That's a very, very problematic line of thought. There are maybe places in life where that's okay. Also that we need to check to see, even in the business world, sometimes we know people. Nowadays, whenever you go into any basic business course, they'll tell you, no, first of all, when you start negotiating with someone else, first of all, create some kind of, what they call in Hebrew, tikshoret mekarevet, do some kind of actions that are going to get you close to the other person. If automatically say, okay, what can you give me, what can I give you, and everything's very technical, there's a strong chance that won't work. But let's put that aside. Let's say it could work. Let's say if everyone was transactional, okay, everything could go ahead, everything can move forward. Still, what you're doing by living that kind of life, you mean there are no values. Life has got no value in it. That's why, first of all, the Torah speaks about values. It's also got to do when we have a discussion with someone else. And maybe they're doing something that we don't like, it disturbs us in a certain way. If our approach to it is, if you do that, no, I can't tolerate that, I can't take that, I'm not prepared to have any of that, maybe they won't do it. But the relationship that's built between the two people is a wrong kind of relationship. You don't want to have a relationship like that. You don't have a relationship, okay, take a relationship between spouses, where one spouse knows that certain actions are going to cause a situation where the other spouse goes totally crazy about it. Okay, I won't do that. But if they're not around, I'll be doing that. Or, okay, I don't want to mess with them. But if instead of that, we explain things, we say, no, there's a problem with it, it disturbs me, I have a problem with that thing. That's another important thing to know. When someone's doing something, you can't, if you tell them that what they're doing is wrong, that that's not a way to behave, that normally gives them some kind of bad feeling that you're now telling them, are you superior to them, you tell them what's good and what's bad. That creates an uncomfortable feeling. If you explain to them why what they're doing is, why it's hard for you, why you've got a problem with it, not that the actual action is problematic, but I have a problem with that. Why? Because it disturbs me, it reminds me of something, it creates some kind of feeling within me. Then it's much easier for people to understand what's happening. Maybe I'll give an example from a totally different area. Not totally different area, slightly different area. And when we speak into kids, okay, coming back after a long day out, had a long trip somewhere, and we now need to unpack the car, bring everything into the house, and everyone's tired and everyone's got other things to do. So you could come to the kids and say, listen, if you help me bring all of the groceries in for the car, if you help me unpack the car from all the stuff we had on the hike, then I'll give you a candy, I'll give you a toy, I'll give you some kind of I'll reward you in some way. Or if you don't help me do that, then I'll never take you again with me. Okay, so then the kids, okay, we teaching them to be very transactional. Sometimes I want to motivate them, but I don't want to create that kind of that way of thought in their mind, so I'll do something else. I'll say, let's bring everything in. When we finish bringing everything in, we can sit down and have some ice cream. Although it's in a way you'd say, what, it's the same thing, but we're doing something else altogether here. We're not conditioned. It's not, if you do this, I'll give you that, but yeah, we're doing this, and this is an outcome of what's happening. And then already we're moving them in a different direction. That's first stage. Second stage is we want to build an approach of values. We want to speak about the values, about the meaning of things. So what we can see here from the way the Torah presents these two things is the fact that it matters the way you say things, not just the outcome, okay? These are the halachot, this is the way it is. But the Torah also, the way it presents it to us is, first of all, these are the values, this is what's wrong, this is what's right, with some kind of reasoning. And then 2 chapters later, but there's also consequences. There's also a level of punishment of Sachar Vonesh. Shabbat Shalom.